exciting journey in your journey in data analytics. Okay, so I'm just gonna share my screen. Gonna share my screen now. Okay, can you all see my screen? I need your response. Can you see my screen? I
Yes.
need.
Yes, we can see it, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Please, I want this class to be interactive. So it shouldn't be that I'm just the only one doing the talking. I would also like that you respond whenever I need your response. Okay? So that way we are gonna flow together. Okay? So once again, my name is Tobiloba Johnson. I'm doing a proper introduction. I'm a data analysis coach. I've had the privilege to train hundreds of students in data analysis, data science, data engineering, the field of business analytics, and many of them are doing very well in their field. So I have a privilege to be your instructor for this course. And in today's class, you'll be looking at introduction to data analysis. Okay. Now, when you hear the term data analysis, in its literal meaning, it means analysis of data. That is what it means. When you hear data analysis, you are talking about analysis of data. So, what is now the data? What is data? So, you may wonder, or you may have the question in your mind that what then is data? If we are to analyze data, we must understand what data is all about. Now, the field of data analysis is not an abstract field, it's a very applicable field that you and I practice even in our daily life. For instance, now you want to leave your house in the morning, you listen to the weather forecast, you listen to the news, and that will inform the type of clothes you wear, the type of material you take along. If you see on the weather forecast that it's going to rain on that day, then you will take an informed decision about the kind of clothes you're going to put on. So you're not going to choose or go for light clothes, light texture clothes. You may want to consider taking on thicker ones because of the data. Or probably you just step out in the morning and you saw that everywhere was cloudy. And that gives to you an impression that it will soon rain. So that will inform your decision. It will inform what you're going to do, what you're going to wear, and some other things. So that is what data analysis is all about in its simplest term. When you look around, you gather data, whether you're doing it intentionally or not, you are gathering data. Okay? Because we are living in an era of data. Every day we generate thousands of terabytes of data, thousands. And all of this data can be the sales record of a company, for instance. Data can be the activity of users on an application, your payment history, that can also be a data. So you can have data in different formats. Okay, but in this course, data analytics, we only limit ourselves to structured data. Okay, because we can have unstructured data, we can have semi-structured data, and also we can have structured data. So what are the structured data we are talking about? The structured data are the data that follow the relational model. Basically, the data that can be saved or represented using tables. Tables has rows and columns. So those or that is the data that we'll be considering. There are many unstructured data, every data flying around, temperature, audio file, video file on social media. You'll see a lot of comments, you see reaction. Those are data, okay? And they are raw facts, and these facts, we collect them together and we subject them to a process called analytics for the purpose of getting trends, insights from those data. Raw data is a term used to describe data in its most basic digital format. Early on, data importance in business computing became very apparent by the popularity of the terms data processing and electronic processing. So, introduction to data analytics. Okay, I want to believe that many of you, if not all, would have come across the phrase or the term data analysis and data analytics. Okay, you may have a question as to what is the difference, what is the difference between data analytics and data analysis. Okay, so I'm just going to explain what those two terms mean. Data analytics and data analysis, they can be used interchangeably because they mean the same thing. Okay, they mean the same thing, but there is a technical difference between these two terms, and that will only be apparent when we are only considering analysis and analytics. Okay, when we take away the data and we consider analysis and analytics. Now, what is analysis? It is just a careful examination of something. You can analyze the way someone talks, you can analyze the way somebody gesticulates, you can analyze uh, how a meal, if a meal is delicious, you can analyze that with your taste if you have the skill to taste, you can analyze wine. Is it a good wine? So that is analysis, a careful examination of something so that one could get a result out of that examination. That is analysis. But analytics, on the other hand, when we talk about analytics, we are talking about a, a systematic computation, okay, of data, a systematic computation of data where we subject data to a systematic computation for the purpose of arriving at a meaningful results. Okay, so you cannot talk about analytics without not talking about data. But analysis is more than just numbers. When you're doing analysis, you can analyze somebody, you can analyze a whole lot of things. But when we use the term together, say data analysis or data analytics, when we use data together with those two words, in this sense now, they mean the same thing. So whenever you hear the term data analytics or data analysis, just know that basically they mean the same thing. And what is analytics and data analytics? It's just the process of examining, cleaning, transforming, and modeling data with the aim of discovering useful information, concluding, and supporting decision making. So that is data analytics. And the process of data analytics comprises data cleaning, and that is the ability to clean and organize your data. And that is important because most data that are readily available, they are not in the right format that you could use immediately for analysis. You have to subject them to some transformation, to go through some cleaning so that it will be analysis ready. So data cleaning is also a part of that, which uh, which involves cleaning and organizing your data, making it suitable for analysis. And what it includes is getting rid of missing values. Sometimes you might get a data set that has different missing values, empty uh, cell for different variables. So you may want to get rid of those so that it don't affect your analysis. And also outliers. Outliers are data points that vary significantly from the majority of the distribution of the other observations. And also you may need and you need actually to get rid of errors. So you do all of that when you subject your data to cleaning. So what is the main objective of data analytics? The goal, the end results. Why do you go through all this process of examining, cleaning, transforming, and modeling your data? What is the aim? They are different objectives, but it's just majorly one. And the first one is that the objective is to unlock insights. Okay? You unlock insights when you analyze the data, you begin to observe trends, patterns, and correlation of data. And that will tell you, oh, I think this thing is making sense. Okay, then because of that, you can have an informed view, not just an assumption about the data. So the main objective is to unlock insight from the data, also to enhance decision making. For for example, in the healthcare industry, we use data analytics to predict disease outbreaks. This is very important. This is very important. For example, now, let's say there is an outbreak or an epidemic, okay, and if not properly managed by decisions that are data driven, it could get out of hands. And why did I say that? Take for instance, you there is a nation that is hit with a pandemic, like the last one, the global pandemic. Let's say it happens with a particular nation, for instance, and the nation does not have a good data repository of the population, of the healthcare facilities. That will cause the nation to lose in their battle in preventing or curbing the disease outbreak. But when there is repository, there is data concerning the number of people that are, or the estimate of the population in different cities in the nation. And you can also know for certain the number of healthcare facilities like hospitals, clinics, health center, and all of that that are in every city. You will be able to plan appropriately. Okay, you'll be able to plan appropriately for those cities. When you look at the outbreak, then for this population of people, this number of healthcare service or health workers can be deployed to this city so that you don't deploy where healthcare workers are needed more. You only deployed a few, and where they are not needed, you oversaturate the healthcare worker over there. So it won't be efficient. And as a result of that, it will be counterproductive. So data analytics enhance decision making. What it also does is that it enhances profitability. In the case of business, finance data analytics, it aids in risk assessment, fraud detection, and investment decision. Anyone that uh, invests in the stock market will need the knowledge of data analytics or somehow have a data analyst, an expert, a data professional to help him or her manage his investment. And how do you do that? The job of a data analyst, for example, in in a stock market, we call the type that type of data time series data because they are generated with respect to time. It could be daily, okay, it could be weekly, it could be hourly, that the stock is rising and falling. So the service of a data analyst is required, and what will be the objective of that data analyst? To look at the trend at which the price is going up, is shooting high, or is declining, or decreasing, all of that, and would generate insights from that. And when you subject the data to analytics, you will be surprised that when you begin to look at it more deeply and you're looking more deeper into the data, you may begin to see that at a particular month or at a particular quarter of the year, the stock tends to rise, and at another point in time, it tends to fall. So this insight now, you can now make investment decisions on that, and that will minimize the risks. So we use finance data analytics to aid risk management, fraud detection, and all of that. Another objective is that data analytics, we use it in forecasting and planning. Organizations use data analytics to predict future trends, demand, and sales for the purpose of planning. Let me just give you something that you probably all can relate with. Take for instance Nigeria, our country. It's a popular knowledge that we really don't have a very accurate data repository. Okay, we have the last census that was carried out in this country, I think was decades ago. So we don't have the right number of citizens or individuals in the country. We don't. It's just estimate that we've been working with estimate year after year. We're just estimating based on the results of the last national census. Okay, and this is where the problem is. Consider yourself as a parent, a father or a mother, and you have children. Now, imagine a situation where you don't know the number of children that you have, and you go to work, you have a job where you earn from, okay, and as a parent, it is required that you meet the basic need of your children at least before they become mature to fend for themselves. Now, you don't know the number of students you have. It will be difficult for you to plan for them from the salary that you have or from your earnings. It will be difficult for you to plan for them. The money you're going to pay for the school fees of one, the money you're going to pay for another program that another one is involved in, because you don't have accurate number, planning is impossible. So that is where data analytics comes in. When data analytics is involved in the process of planning, we can actually use that to forecast the outcomes to come and do a proper planning in any organization. And take note, data analytics is not just about numbers, but also about translating data into actionable insight that drive positive change. So when you a data analyst in your workflow, it's not really about crushing numbers, working with numbers, but the main objective is that while you are doing all those work, which is important, you must be able to translate the data into actionable insight that will drive positive change and will drive growth in any organization you find yourself. It could be in the government, in the finance sector, in the health sector, in the agricultural sector, you know, it could be anywhere. The main objective is not just about how good you are with the numbers, but about translating the data into actionable insight that will drive positive change. So now let's quickly look at some of the roles of a data analyst, because the data analysts work predominantly with data, and sometimes the data are not readily available to the data analyst, and that leaves the data analyst to source for the data. Okay, you source for the data sometimes. So that is why the first role of a data analyst is to gather data. Even though you won't be the one sourcing for the data primarily, you might need to pick up the data from some records. It could be inventory records or hospital records, or on the internet, or financial statement and all of that. It falls to the data analyst to collect the data. So data can be gathered from different sources like databases, surveys, okay, and external data sets. Just to mention but a few, there are different sources a data analyst or one could get data from. The next role of a data analyst after collecting the data is to clean and organize the data so that it can be analysis ready. And this role involves sorting the data, cleaning it, organizing it into a usable format, okay? Into a usable format so that you can then proceed with analyzing the data. Then after collecting your data and organizing the data, then you can proceed to analyzing the data. So that is the third role of a data analyst. And in the process of analyzing the data, a data analyst uses different statistical methods and software. Okay, there are different softwares. I just have two examples here. That's SPSS, the Statistical Package for Social Sciences, and Stata. Okay, there is SPSS, is Stata, there is Excel. There are different software. There is Python, there is R, SQL, and there are some other BI tools like Tableau and Power BI. Okay, so you use those software as a data analyst to analyze the data. And what this means is that you're looking into the data for insight or useful information. So the next role after analyzing the data and you've gotten insight or information from the data is now left to interpret the result of your analysis. The insight gotten from the data, you need to interpret it so that it can be applied. And what this involves is that you will turn the raw data into useful information that you can convey to your audience. Your audience could be a technical stakeholder, could be non-technical stakeholder. Technical stakeholder are basically stakeholders that in the tech space, they may not necessarily be in the data field, but they understand some technical terms. Also, you may also need to convey this information that you've gotten from your data to non-technical staffs, okay, non-technical stakeholders. So that is important. You have to interpret it in the language that everyone can understand. Now, after that, report finding. You create a report, you create dashboard and different visualization with charts, graphs, or plots to present your data in a way that is easy to understand. Because when you're looking into a table with rows and columns, you're looking at the data, it may be difficult to get the information as easy as when you would get it when looking at the chart. Okay, a chart will make it more prominent, will bring into a light the useful information, and anyone looking at it could see. So, for example, if it is a bar graph is the chart with bars. And if someone will see it, will like, oh, the bar with the highest height, okay, that could be Take for instance, you're analyzing the finance data now. That could be where we have the major, sales or funds or things like that. So it will be easier when you present your findings, when you create by creating report, dashboard, and visualization. So after that, when you have gotten information, useful information from your data, the next thing to do is to make recommendations. Having found out that the money that was appropriated for a particular project is not enough, and it's the funding area that is serving as a bottleneck to the execution of a project. Take for instance, so you have to make recommendations that the funding should be improved upon. Okay, like being doubled, even tripled, if you want to get the desired result. So you don't just stop in your role by looking at the problem like, oh, this is the problem. You ought to be able to make useful recommendations that could tackle or solve those problems. So based on your analysis, you provide suggestions or advice to help the company or your client make better decisions that will get them the result that they desire. And also, a data analyst needs to collaborate with others. It is important that you know, as a data analyst, that in this tech field, especially, you don't work alone. You work with other teams, like the marketing department or unit, the finance department, or IT, to understand their data needs. So you work together with this or with these other team members, and you help them make data-driven decisions. So that is what you some of the roles that you find yourself in your workflow as a data analyst. Data analysts address questions like which customer to target in an ad campaign or which age group is most vulnerable to disease. Okay? The marketing department may come up with a problem trying to optimize the 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 fund or spending on marketing. So they will need the service of a data analyst that, oh, we want to run an ad campaign, but we don't just want to be vague. We don't just want to be wasting money. We need specific people because we have a target. So they will come to you as a data analyst that, oh, who is likely to buy this our products? Then you begin your work, begin to get your data, you begin to analyze, and you begin to see the age group or the demography because location also matters. Where those people are that are likely to buy the products that your organization sells or the services they provide. So that is also very important. You will have to collaborate with other more often than not in your workflow as a data analyst. Now we've been talking about the roles or qualities of a data analyst, and in the first uh, process that as a data analyst that you need to know is that data will not be readily available to you all the time. More often than not, you will not have readily available data. You may have to source for your data. And that is what will take us to what a variable is. For you to collect data, you will need to collect data by the variable of the data. So what is a variable? A variable is a characteristic of interest to our study question that can take on different values. That is why it is a variable. It varies. It takes on different values. A variable can also be said to be an attribute. Okay, let's look at an instance so that you get it the clearer picture. Take for instance now, you want to do a finance analytics about, let's say, the economy of Nigeria. You are interested in the economy of Nigeria. You want to compare and see if the economy is actually growing. Okay? If the economy is actually growing. So you need to get the data before you start your analysis. So now to get your data, you begin to think about what am I getting those data on? What are the characteristics of my interests? In our case now is the economy of Nigeria. So you begin to think, oh, how do I know how the economy is performing? Is there any metric with which one could measure the performance of the economy? And that is what takes us to a variable. The attributes of an economy or the characteristics of an economy. First, we have a few of them, and that is the GDP, the domestic product, the inflation rate, which is also an attribute to measure the performance of the economy, the inflation rate, and the third major variable used for measuring economic performance is unemployment rate. Okay, those three variables or attributes are very important when you're talking about economic performance. The GDP, inflation rate, unemployment rates. Those are very important. So those three are now the variables which is the characteristics of interest. Okay, you get data on the GDP, on Nigerian GDP. Maybe you look at 20 years from now or 20 years ago. That will be from around 2005 to 2025. You take data on the GDP, you take on the inflation rate, on the unemployment rate also, and you subject those variables to analysis, and you begin to see if there is any upward trend, or if there is a decline. You know, if the GDP is growing, the economy is growing. Okay, if the inflation rate is increasing, the economy is not doing well. If the unemployment rate is increasing, the economy is also not doing well. So those are what we call variables. They are the characteristics of interest to your study or question that can take on different value. Like GDP now, GDP for 2024 would, would be a particular value which will be different to the GDP in 2023. Same as GDP in 2022, they will be different. So GDP can take on different value based on the year, or it could be quarterly. But then you may consider just the last year, the 4 quarters in a year. Okay, so you could consider that also. Now, when we're talking about variables, variables have two types. Variables can be qualitative or quantitative. Variables can be qualitative or quantitative. So when variables are qualitative, what it means is that these are characteristics or attributes of data that save data in categories. For example, if you are looking at the tribes in Nigeria, that is a qualitative variable because it is different category. We have the Yorubas, we have the Hausas, we have the Igbos, we have the Fulanis, we have different categories. You can either be a Yoruba or be an Hausa, you know, you can belong to just one of those categories. So that is a qualitative variable. And also when we are looking about the gender or sex of individuals, it is a qualitative variable. The sex can take on values like male or female, considering the recent announcement by President Donald Trump. I think it is fair to say we have two genders. Okay, so one can either be a male or you be a female. So those are categories, and that makes gender a qualitative variable because the values the variables can take are categories. Let's look for one more. Let's look for one more. Okay, okay. Let's just say considering the body complexion, okay, of individuals. These are categories. You can have someone that is light, someone that is dark in complexion, or someone that is kind of in between, not dark, not light. Some people call it chocolate. I don't know what that means, but you can have that category also. So those are qualitative variables. They store data or represent data in categories. Now, the other type of variables are the quantitative. Okay, the quantitative means it is numerical. You can call quantitative variables numerical variables, while you can also call qualitative variable categorical variable. Okay, don't mix it up. Qualitative are categorical, while quantitative are numerical. So when we're talking about numerical or quantitative, we're talking about variables that take some numbers. For example, the GDP is numbers, employment rate is number, inflation rate, you know, the sales, the quantity of products, the price of commodity in the markets. Those are quantitative variables. Your income, your salary, your age, you know, the population of individuals in each state in Nigeria is a quantitative variable because they are numbers, they are numerical. So variables can either be a qualitative or quantitative. I hope you get the gist and the difference between both of them. Now, these qualitative variables or qualitative data, what they do basically is to provide labels or names to information. Labels also mean category. That is what they do. They represent data in categories by providing labels or names to it. While quantitative, as I mentioned before, use numerical values to indicate how much or how many. Now, for a quantitative data or variable, we also have two types of quantitative data. Okay, are we following? If you are following, I would like to get your response. Are we still together? Are we together? I would like that you respond, please.
Yes, I'm following.
Okay, okay,
I'm following.
that's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, quantitative variables now, we also have it to be of two types. Okay, the first one is the discrete quantitative variable, and the other one is the continuous quantitative variable. Okay, so I'm just going to tell you the difference between them so that you get the concept of discrete and continuous. So first, let me take the discrete. When we talk about discrete data or discrete variables, they measure how many. Okay, so they take on certain values to measure how many. Discrete data can also be called counting data. Counting data. And because they measure how many, they are majorly integers. The data, they are integers. They don't have a decimal value. Integers are whole numbers. Okay, like 5, 100, 1,000, 1,000,000. Those are whole numbers. So they measure how many. You can also call discrete data counting data. Example of discrete data is the population in each state in Nigeria. Okay, you're not gonna get a population that will be two, or let's say for instance, don't let me use a very high number. Let's say for instance, you cannot have a population that is 10.5. You get that is 10 and a half. You can't have that. It's either there are 10 individuals there or there are 11 individuals. There is no half individual. So this is counting how many. Like in this class now, how many students do we have in each classes for this particular course, data analysis? That will be a discrete data because we have, it is a measure of how many counting, okay? And majorly or most times they are in whole numbers. So that is discrete data. Now, but when we talk about continuous, continuous is measuring how much it can take on any value over a given range. Okay, it is measuring how much. For example, GDP. GDP is how much? Like it can be $2.15 billion. It can be whatever point. It can even be, let's say, one has one goes home with a total earnings as income of around 65.50 or 65,050 kobo. That is a continuous data. You can have that on your account balance in your bank apps and your different. You'll find this kind of figures. Something point. Even if the other side, the kobo, we are not using it. That is a continuous data. It involves how much, and most times you're gonna find it with a decimal point. And also, for you to distinguish between a discrete and a continuous, it is important that you bear in mind that continuous data is a data on a continuum, is a data on a continuum. Like, for instance, now, your height, your height is on a continuum. If I measure your height just now, in few minutes after, you might have grown. It is possible you might have grown in height or weight somehow. It may not be very visible, but it will be some very minute units that increase in the weight or the height. So that means it is continuous. The height, the weight, the GDP, those are continuous. GDP continues growing or declining, it is continuous. Okay? The same as age. Age is a continuous data. Okay? The age you were uh before we started this class is not the same age you are now. I mean at this moment. It's not the same age. You might be saying, what does that mean? Um from this age, but that is the unit you are measuring your age from. If you're measuring with years, you can say you used to be 35, you are 35 years old before you started the class, and you're still 35 years old. But that is just a unit of measurement of your age. What if your age was measured in seconds? That means you have grown from the very first second you were giving birth to this moment. Maybe you are billions of seconds old. So it is continuous. So that is how we make the distinction between a discrete data, which is majorly a counting data, discrete, and a continuous, which measure how much, and it represents data on a continuum or data over a given range. Okay, and now let's talk about some qualities and skills of a data analyst. The first one is statistical analysis and mathematics. Now, if you're not very good with math, you need not to worry because I've had students ask me those questions that, oh, What if you are not good in math? Can you do data analysis? I tell them yes. Yes, of course, you can do data analysis and you excel very well in the field. It's not about you knowing all the calculus, all the, you know, differential, whatever, whatever. It is about critical thinking, most importantly. It is not about just crunching numbers. So when you see that one of the qualities and skills of a data analyst, statistical analysis, and mathematics is not that you must be a guru in mathematics, okay? But you must have an understanding of some statistical method, like when you are talking about the different, like the measure of central tendency, the average, the mean, the median, the mode, you know. If you don't have any knowledge of this at all, do not worry. We're going to take you all of this in this course. And also some mathematical principle is crucial. Like you can do 2 times 2, 5 plus 3 will give you 8. 2 times 5 will give you 10. So I think that is very much enough and you can build on it. So the first quality is statistical analysis and mathematics. And after that, you have to be proficient in data analysis tools. We have a quite number of them, and it seems every second now, tech companies are developing new softwares for data analysis because it is a very hot job in the market. Because as a result of the enormous data that is being generated all around the world per second, billions of data is being generated. So you need to learn how to use some data analysis softwares and tools such as Microsoft Excel, okay, SQL, Tableau, Power BI, and spreadsheets. Spreadsheets like Google Sheets, Excel is also a spreadsheet application, and more advanced platforms or programming language for data analysis. And the popular ones are HAL, Python, or Java. But the two most popular ones are HAL or Python. So you need proficiency in some of these data tools. Okay, in some of them, you need to be proficient and know how to use them for data analysis. Another quality is data management, basic knowledge of database management, and that is your knowledge of SQL. You must be able to use SQL for database management, how to use query, and how to manipulate your data, which you do with SQL. Now, SQL is structured query language. Okay, that's just the acronym. It's a structured query language. When we get to the SQL class, we're going to talk more about SQL. Okay, but just know that SQL is a language that a data analyst use. Not only a data analyst, there are even a software developer interacts with database on the back end, a cybersecurity analyst, you know, to define security and all of that. But all of these people, whenever they are interacting with a database, they use the language SQL to interact with database by populating a database, retrieving data from the database, doing all sorts of data manipulation. You need the knowledge of structured query language, SQL. And we have two types. We have the relational database and the non-relational database. The relational database, we use SQL for that. The non-relational, which we call the not just SQL or not just SQL or no SQL. An example of them is MongoDB. We have uh, Cassandra. We have HBase. We have Kafka. Those are no SQL database. And for SQL database, we have MySQL. We have PostgreSQL. We have Microsoft SQL Server. And we have a quite number. We have Oracle. We have a quite number of them. Okay. Now, as a data analyst, it is important that you have at least you are proficient in at least one of the major programming languages for data analysis, and those are Python and R. It is required that at least you are proficient in one of them. These are the most popular programming languages used for data analysis. And as you are proficient with one, you could take up the challenge to learn the other, because different job requirements from some organization, the tech stack they use only involve Python for data analysis. So if you are someone that is only proficient with R, you might need to learn Python, okay, so that you can apply for such job. Or if you only know Python and the job offers that you're seeing require the knowledge of R, you might need to pick it up. Okay, what I'm saying is that it's most times depends on the organization you work for. So they are the one that will determine the stack that you will use, because they've been using it before you got hired. So you just have to comply so that you can integrate easily with the team, so that you can be on the same page using the same tools. So proficiency in at least one of these two programming languages is required for a data analyst. Now, data visualization. For data visualization, it is required that a data analyst be proficient also in at least one of these BI tools. When I say BI tools, I mean business intelligence tools. We use these tools for creating reports, interactive dashboard, all of these very exciting visuals in the field of business analytics, data analytics. So it is important, and majorly we use them for data visualization, because we create dashboard report to them, we tell data stories with this tool, and they are just Power BI, Microsoft Power BI, and Tableau. So again, as the programming language for data analysis, the same as the data visualization tool or BI tool, the company, the organization will determine the stack that you're going to use. So it is required that a data analyst be proficient in at least one of these data visualization tools, either Power BI or Tableau. And if you are proficient with both of them, then you are very lucky. Okay. Now let's look at some of some other skills a data analyst should have. We have talked about basic programming language, knowledge of Python or R, which are commonly used for data analysis. Also, there are some qualities a data analyst should have. A data analyst should be a critical thinker, somebody that can think analytically and have a problem solving skills. This is very important. If you find yourself, if you find that you have this quality in you, you are built up for data analysis. And if you don't really think you have this quality, you can nurture them. Okay? Analytical thinking and problem solving. It is the ability to think critically about data and what it means, and use the same data to solve problems and answer questions. So that is why they pay them more, because they are critical thinkers, they are problem solvers. The marketing department will come, oh, we want to do this. We don't know why our ad is not converting. We don't know why this is not doing this. We don't know why we are not making sales, even though you spend so much on marketing and all of that. It is not left for a data analyst to sit down and think critically and solve that problem at whole. And when he or she is done with his work, data analysis begin to say, oh, this is why you are not having a result, and this is probably why you are not getting the sales. The sales is not matching the effort you are putting in. So analytical thinking and problem solving is very important, a skill a data analyst should have. The next skill or quality is understanding of business and domain specific knowledge. This is very important. For instance, now you are somebody, a data analyst working in the finance industry. It is required that you have understanding of finance. You have specific knowledge of finance. You should be able to work with some economic terms. You'll be able to do some uh, data modeling, some accounting. You should be able to interpret a financial statement as a data analyst working in a finance you know domain. You are expected to understand the business and have domain specific knowledge because knowing how businesses operate and the specific industry context is very crucial in making meaningful interpretation of the data. Or you find yourself in the health sector, you must have, you know, the understanding of the health sector or the medical uh, field and all of that. So finally, I think we have one more communication skills. And this skill is as every other skill a data analyst skills. Because if this skill is lacking or missing in a data analyst, then all the process of data analysis, all the you know brainstorming, analytical thinking, problem solving, all of that would be to a waste. After going through all the rigor of data analysis processes, and you cannot communicate effectively your findings to the stakeholders, the decision makers, to help your organization. So it will all be to nothing. So that's why communication skills is also very important. And it is this skill that mostly people would notice about you as a data analyst. Because somebody that is not a data analyst would not know how to use your software, would not know how the particular problem they have. They'll just come to your department that we have this problem. We want our data analytics team to look at this problem and come up with a solution to it. So the major area where they're gonna see you as a proficient data analyst is your communication skills. Because the other process is data transformation, data analysis. You're doing that on your desk in your room if you work remotely. But if you're able to communicate those insights in a very clearly and effective manner to your audience, whether they are technical audience or non-technical audience, that is when the decision maker will be able to understand your findings and recommendations. And when they implement it, then they began to see the change in the organization. So communication skill is very, very important. Is analyst. Lastly, the skill I'm going to talk about is continuous learning. You see, many people do, and you look at some videos, people, you just see data analysts, and you just see them just shining, just telling you the field is amazing, data analysis is amazing, it's good, it's wow, it's that, it's this, it's that. They will not tell you some harsh reality about data analysis. And one of them is continuous learning. Many people just believe that when I learn a tech skill, then that is all. Like you are learning trading. I think even trading, you have to continue learning. Whatever job you are doing, if it is just like a tailoring or hairdressing, you have to continue learning to stay on top of your game. The same is required. One has to be continuously learning because the field of data analysis is always evolving. So staying up to date with the latest trends, the tools, the technology and techniques is very important. So it's one of the harsh reality of a data analyst. You're looking for a job where you have all the whole time in the world. Yes, you may have, and that will be a dividend of the investment you have paid on learning. You may have some time off to go for some holidays. You may decide to go on tour, do all sorts of those nice things. Okay, But that must be because you have learned. And when you are done with that, you go back to learning. Continuous learning is also a very good. If you're somebody that you think, let me just learn this and let me just be using what I've learned for the next 5 years, you may not uh, reach your full potential as a data analyst because the software you're using today in 2 to 3 years may be obsolete or may no longer be needed in the industry. You begin to see new job posting that won't even talk about those softwares again. You'll be talking about new ones that are evolving. So you have to continue learning. It is a skill a data analyst. So finally, let's talk about some career opportunities for data analysts. The first one is entry level data analyst. Here you work with teams. In the team, you have some senior analysts. You know, you'll be supervised by them. They will give you roles like data collection, data cleaning, and basic reporting. Another career opportunity is business analyst, and this role is just to understand business processes and use data to improve decision making in the business sector. You will collaborate with stakeholders to identify business needs and recommend solutions. Okay. We also have the data visualization specialists. These are uh, these are opportunities that involve turning data into insightful charts. What you just need to do in this uh, job is that you just make charts, okay, insightful charts and graphs. And we have financial analysts too, those that work in industries like banking, insurance, and investment firms. These financial analysts they work majorly on risk assessments and fraud. This
Please, am I the only one that can
these
hear
are just
you?
some of,
Okay.
can you hear me?
Yes, we can
I
now.
can hear you now.
Please, if you can hear me, I would like that you respond, please. Can you hear
I
me?
can hear you now.
We
Okay,
can
thank
hear
you. I
you,
think
but we
it's
can't
the
see your
network.
screen.
Oh, I'm gonna show my screen now. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, definitely.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about the glitches in the network. It's our Nigerian network. Okay. So I was talking about some of the career opportunities for data analysts, and these career opportunities are not limited to the ones I have on this slide. There are actually more than these because the field of data analytics is a very thriving field where you could find yourself. And the good thing about data analytics is that unlike uh, some other tech field like design, you know, like web development and all of those, which are fantastic, fields, data analytics cuts across every industry. You can work everywhere in the health sector, in the agricultural sector, even in the academics, in education. You can work there. You can work in the finance. You can work virtually everywhere in every enterprise. So that makes the stream of the job prospect for data analysts to be so broad that it's even difficult to exhaust it. So that is why you begin to see when you look at some job postings, you begin to see some strange, uh, you know, job role. You just hear something like something analyst, something analyst, something analyst. It's because of different fields. Majorly, what they do is the same, but the application is at a different field, different domain. So there are numerous opportunities for you as a data analyst. There are numerous opportunities. And also you could look at as a data analyst, you could consider being a consultant, or freelancer. You may decide to work independently as consultant or freelancer, just be earning money, doing data analysis projects, and just be freelancing. Or as a consultant, you could also want to work as a project manager. With your strong analytic skills, data analysts can become effective project managers. So there are different career opportunities for you as a data analyst. So I have a note here. I said you can achieve your skills and become a data scientist. Okay, that's just the difference between the data analyst and the data scientist. And I'm going to tell you the difference now. Is that when you learn machine learning and predictive modeling and some other advanced statistical techniques, this will make you a data scientist because the job role of a data scientist is more of predictive modeling and machine learning models, okay, and some advanced statistical techniques, okay. So when you just learn more of that, then you can go from data analyst to data scientist. Additionally, data analytics is a dynamic field, as I mentioned earlier, with diverse career paths. So it's best to choose the one that aligns with your interests and goals. If you find yourself to be, you know, a business person, someone that's really passionate about business and about finance specifically, it might, do you good to align yourself with your interest. Okay, or if you are somebody that likes to work in the health sector, or probably you had a dream to become a doctor and life happened, you were not able to study medicine and you find yourself in the field of data analytics. It could even work in the same industry, but as a data analyst. You can be an health analyst, medical analyst. So all of that, just ensure that you choose the one that aligns with your interest, because that will make it more exciting for you. Because there are challenges also in the journey. I won't lie to you, and I told you just one of the challenges, which is continuous learning. You have to continuously learn, because new technologies, new softwares are coming up, and you know, uh, data users are actually using these technologies to improve their workflow. So you might need to pick up some of them afresh. So you continue learning. So when you assure you on your career of interest, that might weather down some of the challenges. So it is important that you have that. Okay. The last thing I'm going to talk about for this class is hypothesis testing. Hypothesis testing is a term in statistical analysis, and it is used to determine whether an underlying statement about the value of a population parameter should or should not be rejected. Okay, we are going into touching a bit of statistics. Okay, if you don't understand it very well now, don't worry yourself too much. When we get to the practical aspect, you're going to understand it better. What we do with hypothesis testing is that it provides statistical answers to questions. Questions like, take for example, do our firm produce battery that outlast our competitors' battery? Okay. Does your favorite snack contain only 8 grams of sugar as stated on the label? So when we are talking about hypothesis testing, we have something called a null hypothesis and alternative hypothesis. The null hypothesis is the tentative hypothesis about the assumption. It's just the status quo. Take for instance, you bought a snack and you find on the is it nutrient label they call it now. On the label you find that it contains 20 gram of calories or 8 gram of sugar now. Now the null hypothesis, the status quo, the hypothesis that is popular is that it contains 8 grams of sugar. So you may want to subject that hypothesis to test to ascertain whether the snack really contains 8 grams of sugar. So you are going to come up with another hypothesis, which will be an alternative to the null hypothesis, and that will be that the snack does not contain only 8 grams of sugar to negate the null hypothesis. The null is saying the snack contains only 8 grams, while the alternative is that the snack does not contain only 8 grams. So you subject that to some statistical test, and from the result of your test, you can conclude with statistical evidence that this and this and this and that. That is based on the result of your test. So that is just a brief introduction to hypothesis testing. We do that all of the time. Take for instance, you work in the textile industry, okay, and the popular assumption is that cardigan or clothes with thick textures they sell more during the rainy season when there is cold. People tend to buy more cardigan and fabrics that are more thicker in texture. That is just an assumption. Nobody has confirmed that yet. Even though you've been in a store, you find people buying more in a particular day. That does not mean that statement is entirely correct for every place or every region in the world during the wet season. So it's an assumption. You may decide to subject it to a test, and that will be hypothesis testing. On your own, that the null hypothesis will be that cardigans sell more during rainy season. The alternative now will now be that cardigan does not sell more during rainy season, just the opposite of the null. So you subject it to some statistical test and you come up with a result. And that result will give you a statistical evidence. So you can now make a fact that based on the data that we have, we can conclude confidently that this and this and that. That will be determined by the result of your analysis. So that is just an example of hypothesis testing. We do it everywhere, everywhere, everywhere. One may just wrongly assume that the money invested in marketing, okay, or the money realized from the revenue or sales of an organization uh, is uh, is on the positive side of when you consider the money invested into marketing. That is just an assumption. It's just an hypothesis. For you to be able to ascertain if it is true or not, you have to subject it to hypothesis testing. So that's just hypothesis testing in its basic form and just a brief introduction, as this class is Introduction to Data Analysis. Okay, so I'm gonna leave you here, and this is where I will take your questions, if any. Okay, so here I'm gonna take your question. If you have any question, I would like that you signify by raising your hand. You can just click on the hand button. Okay, Lizzie, I can see your hand. Let's have you.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening, Lizzie.
Please, just some classes that you take now. Please, can we have the software in our email? Is it
You
possible?
mean you mean the presentation?
Yes.
Okay, you'll get them. You'll get them. It will be sent
What
to
did you
you.
say?
It will be sent to the classroom, so you can download it from
Okay.
the classroom.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, any other question? I expect you know, to get a lot of questions, or maybe because you've not been doing the harder stuff. Okay, if you want to ask question, I'm gonna call you and ask you some questions. Okay. Oyinda Mola, let's hear from you. Oyinda Mola Falade, are you there with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, let's hear from you. What's your take from today's class? Were you able to gain anything?
I'm able to get some certain things. Actually, everything is just like a dream to me. Like I'm still trying to
Okay,
get to understand the basics.
okay. So don't worry, you are going to get the basics. It's just for you to just understand what data analysis is used for. So that's the purpose of this introduction class. Okay, and some career prospects, some skills that you need, some things that you might need to know before you start your journey so that you'll be well prepared for the journey in data analytics. So
All right.
don't be worried. You can be assured that I'm gonna take you by the hand. I'm gonna teach you all that you need to know to become a good and confident data analyst. Okay?
Sir. Thank you so much, sir.
You're welcome. Adigun Michael, can we hear from you?
Yeah, I'm with you, sir. I
Okay,
don't know if you can hear me.
can we hear very clearly? I can hear you. What's
Yeah,
your take from today's
I
class?
think I'm okay with everything. Yeah, I think it's
Okay.
too basic enough for me if I still
You
understand
don't have any question?
most of them. No, not at all.
Okay. Okay. If I can hear you very well, I think that's you're fine with the class. Okay.
Yeah, but
Uh,
the
okay.
um the the slide for the presentation, like you promised that you will be sending it, will be expecting that.
Okay. Yes, it will be sent to the class. It will be sent to the class.
All
So
right,
you can download it and go over it yourself again. Okay.
all right, okay.
Thank you, Michael. And Ola. And Ola, let's hear from you. And Ola, are you there? Okay. I don't think Ann Ola is with us. Okay, Abayomi. Abayomi, let us hear from you.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening, Abayomi.
Good evening, Mr. Tud.
Okay, what's your take from today's class?
It's the class was okay.
Okay,
Was okay. My only fear about the network. It's,
the
I
network,
think
right?
we experience a bit of network fluctuations. So by the time we enter, we go into the real this thing proper. I hope it will not disrupt.
Don't worry. You
It
don't
will
need
be a
to fear.
challenge.
You don't need you don't need to fear. You know it is in Nigeria. Nigerian network can fail us, but be rest assured that if there's anything at all you missed out on, you can always call my attention back to it, and I'll be so glad to take you back. So you don't need
Yeah,
to
thank you.
fear the network. Hmm. All right, Lizzie, I can see your hand.
Okay. With what you talked about this evening, what I understand what you said though. You talked
Okay,
about you said data analysis is collection of data which involve cleansing, processing, and visualization of the data. And you talked
okay,
about okay, you now said that which involve the gross domestic this thing and age or something like that. All you said, and you talked about what did you even say again? You talked about using of Excel using of
Okay.
Power BL, using of
Okay.
is it Python or something?
Yes.
Using of
Python.
SQL and
Yes.
using of Tableau. That what you said.
Yes. Yes.
And you talked about if an organization is having low sales, like they have to contact the data analysts to look for a solution why there is no sales, in which they will give them a sheet tax. Then they'll start looking for how and why they are not making sales. That is where the data analysis will come in. And you now talked
Yes.
about what a data analysis can do, like the career they can do.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
would I understand.
Definitely. Thank you, Lizzie. That means you really followed the class.
Yeah.
You really followed the class. That's very impressive. Okay. So I don't think time will permit us to call everyone, but I'm just gonna call one more person. Okay. Akeredolu Moreni Keji. Let's hear from you. Akeredolu Moreni Keji. Are you there? Okay. Okay, I think we have to take one more person now. Okay. Oyinlade Ezekiel.
Good evening, sir.
Okay, Moreni Keji, you are back. Good evening.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
So
what's your take from
tonight,
today's class?
yes, you mentioned something about you tried to explain structured data. Then you
Okay.
tried to give the difference between data analytic and data analysis.
Yes.
Then you also mentioned the goals, the objective of and the end result of data analysis.
Yes.
Then we moved to variables where we talked about the gross domestic product, the
Okay.
inflation rate, and the
Yes.
unemployment rate.
Yes.
Then you also explained that variables can be qualitative and quantitative, which you gave examples of qualitative as tribes, gender, basically the ones that can be counted.
Okay.
Then the quantitative, you mentioned you said it's also called numerical data, where we
Yes.
mentioned income, age, salaries, and so on.
Yes.
Then you also mentioned that under quantitative, there is discrete and there is continuous.
Yes.
Then you mentioned the qualities of data analysts, you mentioned programming languages, you mentioned qualities, and you mentioned skills of data analysts.
Wow. Wow. You have successfully blown away my mind.
Thank you,
That's
sir.
that's awesome. So that means you guys really followed the class. Okay. That's very impressive. And once again, I want to welcome you to this course. It's going to be an exciting ride as we journey together in data analytics for the next few weeks or couple of weeks that I'll be taking this course. So I remain myself again, to Beloved Johnson. You can reach out to me. I'm on the group. You can DM me if you have any question at all. Always feel free to reach out. And at my earliest convenience, I'm gonna respond to you. So this is where I'm gonna call it a close for today, and we're gonna meet in the next class. So thank you all for your audience in today's class. We'll meet again in the next class. Okay.
Thank you so much, sir. It was a great
Okay.
session. We
I
learned
don't
a
know you
lot.
have in
We
the next
appreciate
class.
your time. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you so
you.
much,
Thank
sir.
you. The next class date will be communicated on the group. I think it should be tomorrow, but your course advisor would update you on the classroom group. Just ensure you check the messages to be updated. Okay? Does that answer your question, Adigun Michael? I can see your hand. Adigun Michael, you're still raising the hand.
That's No, that's
Okay,
thank
okay,
you for the class.
okay, okay. That's good. That's perfect. All right. So we're gonna call the class a close for today, and we'll meet in the classrooms and in the next class. All right. So bye
Yes,
bye.
Sister, yes.
Bye bye
Bye
everyone.
bye.
Bye bye.
Good night, sir.
Good night.
3-1 is an hydrating gel cleanser that
Thank
is
you. Night. Night.
to the skin. It is best for dry and sensitive skin. It doesn't strip your face of moisture. It is formulated with our skin barrier complex of 5-ceramide. It has moisture locking hyaluronic acid. It has hydrating glycerin skin sensitive. Secondly, it is best for an oily skin or blemish prone skin because it contains 2% salicylic acid. It contains niacinamide, which helps to minimize the appearance of pores in our skin. It has